step into the realm of daring ideas and transformative dialogues. This is Voices from the Edge, the podcast that pushes boundaries and ventures beyond the ordinary. Here, we confront the crucial issues that shape our world today. From the heartbeat of community challenges to the untold chronicles of leadership. From the relentless pursuit of social justice to the essential lessons in safety and lifelong learning. Voices from the Edge takes you to the crossroads of change. Because the edge is not just a boundary, it's where growth happens. It's where the real conversations begin. So lean in, be inspired, and let's explore what lies beyond the edge.
And joining us today is the marvellous Ian Collins and the equally marvellous David Wollage.
Ian Collins is a dedicated advocate for workplace well-being and human performance, with a strong presence in the safety coaching space. He has founded 3 companies: Safety Coach International, Wellbeing Daily, and How2HOP. David Wollage is a seasoned professional in safety leadership and brings years of hands-on experience in creating safer, more effective workplaces. Together, they are spearheading the Safety Coaching Foundational Workshop happening in Perth this May. This workshop is designed to transform how safety is approached, shifting from compliance-driven models to a more human-centered, coaching-based approach.
Thank you.
How are you, gentlemen?
I'm good, mate. Thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. So you're doing well. Boys, you asked to come on the show, which I can understand with a stellar personality like myself. But what's the real reason we're here today?
Tom, David and I have been working together for a number of months, almost years now, actually, and both of us come from a coaching background and very much immersed in the new view of safety, both safety professionals, and we saw a gap in the market in terms of what is available out there for safety coaching, and what is safety coaching, and so we've been working and developing a program which we're very excited to be launching in Perth, actually in May this year. So we wanted to come on and have a bit of a chat about that and why we think it's going to really have a big impact out there, and add a lot of value to both safety professionals and the organizations in which they work. So that's why we're here, and really appreciate the opportunity to come and have a chat.
Good. So you raised an interesting question right at the word go, where you said when we think about safety coaching. So I don't know, what is safety coaching?
Good question, mate. Good question. Obviously, Ian and I have been talking about this before we came on, and we decided to break down the flow of information to make it, put it into a logical flow so that people can follow along. And that's one of the key points we're talking about. But if we may, we'd like to start out with a bit of a journey.
Good.
Where the industry currently is, some of the problems that have been experienced at the moment, and then loop that into the safety coaching program that Ian and I, want to talk about today. So if I kick off and talk about what the current state is here in Australia anyway, but also around the world, we have a lot of organizations, we have a lot of individuals, training organizations, private manufacturing, resources, all these different types of organizations. They are all fully aware and cognizant of this need to start moving more towards humanistic safety methodologies, whether that be New View Safety, whether that be HOP, Safety 2, whatever people want to call it. It's now more than ever. It's the norm. It's the norm. People are aware. They've been battling it out on LinkedIn and other platforms for years now, and people can quibble over the details as to what it should and shouldn't look like, or what it should and shouldn't have in it. But the bottom line is, it's fully recognized now that there needs to be more consideration for the humans in the safety system. So if we start with that as the basic premise, and the fact that there are organizations all around the world now providing knowledge and information and training for these safety leaders and for these individuals to educate them as to what that could look like and how it's worked in other industries. And, I think the general awareness around the world, especially here in Australia as well, is that, yes, this is a direction we want to be heading in. We're not 100% sure, what the parameters are, what the outlines we know are, or exactly what it is, but we know we need to be doing something in this general direction. And if we take that with the other shift as well, which is going on, which is more of an awareness for psychosocial hazards in the workplace as well, which again is a reflection of these individuals and these humans in the organization, we can see this big picture which is emerging, which is we need to move away from purely compliance, and we need to not get rid of it. It needs to stay there. It's a valid, important part of the system. However, we also need to have an equal amount of appreciation for the human beings that are in our organizations and those that lead the organizations as well. So if we can all agree that that's a bit of an overview of the current state of the safety in Australia at the moment. Is all that a fair statement?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Well, then that leads us on, if Ian could jump in here for what are some of the problems with that?
Sure. I might actually just start with a bit of context. I started my journey straight out of university. I actually went and did a Tony Robbins seminar in 1998. And that was the start for me of just a lifelong journey into personal development. And so first and foremost, I actually was coaching and working with people. I've always been driven by the opportunity to make a difference with people. And from there, went out into heavy industry and started in mining, did a couple of years out in the mines, and then got into oil and gas, and was witness to a significant incident which had a big impact on the course of my career. And for anyone who's been involved in life-altering incidents, fatalities, it has a big impact. And so went off and got into the world of HSC, again, driven by wanting to make a difference. And all of a sudden, these two worlds of coaching and safety came together. So I thought, okay, I'm going out on my own and started my own consulting company. And so I thought, what is it? It's safety coaching. And that is still the name of my first consulting company, Safety Coach International. How I met David was that he'd actually wanted to buy the domain Safety Coach, and that's how we got in touch, because that's the one I own. So for years and years and years, people have been asking me, well, how do you do what you do? How do you go in there and affect change in an organization and impact the safety culture, rather than, that what David spoke to, that more compliance driven, almost police way that safety being done, particularly when I started in industry. And so this course that we've developed is the culmination of years and years and years of practice into what makes effective safety professionals, what makes effective leaders when they're trying to implement and affect change in an organization from that safety perspective. There's some good things out there in the market, but the more mainstream that this new view perspective, this human and organizational perspective lens through which we can now look at things, that is very much human centric rather than compliance driven. How do we now implement and integrate those concepts and those principles into an organization? So that's primarily what we're helping individuals and helping companies to do is how do you actually coach others? How do you actually coach others that's going to create sustainable change within an organization?
Good.
David, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, also as well, around that, there's a misconception as well as to what actually a safety coach is. You could probably get 100 safety people, or even just random people from industry, and ask them, okay, tell me exactly what a safety coach is. And it's a bit like a risk assessment. You're probably going to get 80 or 90 different versions, assessments, perceptions of that particular terminology as well. So that's another hurdle, that we see out there as well. What actually is a safety coach? So that's something that we want to address as well. We want to put the benchmark out there and go, this is our interpretation from our experience and our experience in the front line, our experience in industry, and our qualifications. This is our definition of what a safety coach is, and this is where we want to start the conversation, because it's only when we actually clearly define what we are talking about that we can have a proper conversation around how that can be improved or how that can be initiated within the organization. Within an organization. So there's those elements as well. It's a relatively new concept, although it's been around for quite a while, but it does need that solidifying and that definition clearly articulated so people understand what they're talking about.
Okay, good. You talked about compliance, and one of my favourite topics of all, because I don't know, I've done a fair few compliance-based roles, but I think you're right. We're not talking about throwing out compliance completely, but the difference is, for me, the best person who's written or spoken about it was our lovely own West Australian owned Greg Smith in Paper Safe, who said we've got to think about whether the compliance is for a purpose or whether compliance has become a process in itself. Why are we doing this? And that's the main thing. I think also with compliance, obviously we're looking at actually measuring performance of something against a standard, which I do understand, but yet for far too often I've seen too many safety professionals feel like or think that their role is to actually just use checklists and go through and measure the things against standards that they don't understand, that they don't even believe in, they don't know who developed them. So, I think you've got it right there. All right, I'm going to ask you one question here because I'm curious on your take on this. You gentlemen are talking about safety coaching. What's the difference between coaching and training, in your opinion?
Yeah, good question. So coaching, well, let's start with training. Training is you're teaching, you're educating someone in a certain methodology. Coaching, on the other hand, is you have someone at point A and they want to get to point B, and the coach is there to help facilitate that journey, whether it's through asking questions, removing barriers, and really coming from a place that person has everything within them to get there. They just need to maybe have some blind spots be brought to light. It's about facilitating the journey that could really help an individual, help an organization get from point A to point B. Again, whereas training is I'm going to train you in this methodology so that you've got the skill set to be able to execute whatever you're trying to execute here.
Good.
If I can add my spin on that as well, because it might be useful to hear different types of definitions for people, so it lands with a broader spectrum. I saw a great post on LinkedIn the other day, and I'm going to forget the guy's name. Terrible with names. He was explaining what coaching is by using the old fish and fishing rod analogy with regards to, so training could be seen as giving a hungry person a fish. You're giving them something. You're transferring information or food in one direction. Whereas coaching is seen more as teaching somebody to fish. Giving them that fishing rod and actually going, okay, well, you already have the inherent skills. You know you better than anybody else. And you know what affects you more than anything, internally and externally. And you know what your strengths are. You know what your desires and wishes are. Let's clearly lay them out on the table so that you're aware of them. Let's work on any improvements that you might need to do. And then let's paint a clear picture for the future. see what that future looks like for you and for your organization. And that's the important part as well. When we're talking about coaching, it's not, especially safety coaching, it's not purely the development of the individual, although that is important. It's development of the individual in the context of the organization. And if we want to narrow it down even more, it's a development of the individual in the context of the organization through the lens of new view safety. So we can sit down with individuals and we can say, taking all these different layers into account, what do you want to achieve? What might that look like, and what's going to get in the way? So if I was to kind of summarize coaching in like 3 easy points, it would be active listening on our behalf, on the coach's behalf. We have to actively listen. We have to put aside all our preconceptions, notions of anything, our ego. Everything needs to be put aside, and we create a safe space. Safe space is a bit of a overused term, but what it means in coaching is a non-judgmental area where people can talk about themselves and what they want to achieve. We also go through strategic questioning. Our questioning isn't always easy for the person, and it generally makes them think about why they're doing what they're doing and how it's affecting themselves and others, and why they want to achieve what they want to achieve as well. These are all, they sound like really, really easy questions that roll off the tongue, but if you're sitting down one-on-one with somebody and you're questioning their perceptions on life, on their work life, and their desires and dreams, it really gets people thinking, because so much of our life is automated, and we're set on program to just go and do it because we think that's what we should be doing, or this is what we've been told to do. Asking those Socratic questionings, why, continually asking why, and not forcing the person, but encouraging the person to question them. Those are what we like to term strategic, powerful questioning. And then at the end of that, the third point, we really have strategic interventions. These are interventions which we put in place. It could be as simple as going through an interview practice session with someone to actually getting them to clearly articulate what motivates them in their life and what doesn't motivate them. These are all evidence-based psychology principles, and we do fully align only really with those evidence-based techniques and principles. There's a lot of principles out there and a lot of frameworks out there for life coaching, every type of coaching, but we really want ours to be empirically validated and aligned with best practice and aligned with the evidence that's out there currently in the psychology world, based on cognitive behavioral coaching, cognitive behavioral therapy, motivation theories, all these validated approaches which are currently used in different domains of psychology. We can borrow and we can apply them in this setting of safety coaching. So this isn't just something that we're making up. These aren't skill sets which we've developed. We're borrowing them from psychology. We're applying them in a coaching arena with an agenda, if you will, in order to be able to facilitate the development of new view safety practices throughout the organization.
Good. Just a question. Who are you hoping to target for this sort of coaching? Is it organizations themselves, or is it individuals that just become along on their own volition?
Yeah, a bit of both, Tom. Certainly there's going to be, and we've already received a lot of interest from people out there in the safety space already, safety professionals, advisors, who want to take their effectiveness to another level. Also, a lot of leaders. There's a lot put on leaders to really drive change within organizations and really set the benchmark. And oftentimes we don't equip them with the knowledge, the tools, the questions to be able to really ask of their people. So leaders as well don't necessarily have to have a safety function, but leaders within organizations. But ultimately, we can certainly see the opportunity to work with entire organizations, and it's going to be a skill that can be developed from for any sort of manager position upwards. So that both individuals and organizations.
And also as well, like any organization that's looking to operationalize any kind of these new view and HOP methodologies as well. That would be aside from the individuals, as Ian alluded to, who wanted to upskill, those organizations currently looking at these new view type of practices, want to find a way to really embed it within the organization, then working on these individual leaders within the organization, frontline leaders as well as executive leaders, it doesn't matter, can really help with moving the organization in the direction of these new view principles.
Yeah.
Good. Just adding a thought. Let's say your organization sends a few people along, they embrace the idea, they love it so much. What's the possibilities that you could end up training safety coaches within those organizations to train other staff members? Is that a possibility?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It's definitely we want to have this available to as many people as possible, and certainly look to how do we make that available to organizations, and probably some sort of train the trainer style process be involved there, and maybe licensing. We're just getting started, but that's certainly the long-term plan, 100%.
That's the operationalizing and the sustainability piece, which we organizations really need. So long now people have, and I'm not bagging out traditional training. I've experienced a lot, and it's been very, very useful, and I've had some which hasn't been so useful, but it tends to be very didactic, very one directional. Someone comes in, dumps a whole heap of information, maybe leave behind some information as well, and then they go. What has been proven to work better is to have that constant presence of that particular knowledge base or that skill base within the organization, and that's an expensive piece. You can't have consultants there all the time, and that's not something that that's not something that we would want to do either. We don't want to be embedded in these organizations. We want to equip the organizations with the skill sets which we know work, evidence-based coaching skill sets through the lens of new view safety, and then we want to upskill their people who can continue to roll that out throughout the organization.
Good. Now, both based in Western Australia?
I am, but Ian's a bit of a nomad.
I'm from Perth, but I live in Dubai and bounce all over the world. So we're going to start in Perth, and already have a lot of demand from over east, and starting to get demand internationally as well. So we're just getting started here. But
I think
we wanted Perth to be the birth of it.
Yep,
that's good, because that was the follow-up question: was is it going to be only limited to WA? Because no, that's good.
The program that we're working on, it's the first of its kind in Australia. And we're rolling it out at a very, and the dates are the 19th of May. It's a 2-day course. So there's 19th of May, so the Monday and Tuesday, and then that same Thursday, Friday, so the 22nd and the 23rd of May also. 2 days. And the price we're asking is purely to cover costs of the location of the hotel we're going to be hosting it in, because what we want from this initial cohort, these leading edge people who recognize that this is a skill set which they need or their organization needs, we want a lot more feedback from them. We want just as much feedback from them as to what worked and what didn't work as they're going to get from us. So we decided to do this in Perth first, because obviously this is where I am, and this is where New View Safety Coach is based. This is where I know all the people, such as yourself and everybody else in the safety community here, and Ian being from here as well. So we thought we'd do it here, and we'd do it cheap on the premise that we get a lot of feedback and we can improve even further, and then start developing courses that you mentioned there, trainer courses. We're also going to be looking at specialist safety coaching for specialist industries as well. So we've got a few people from the oil and gas industry who are keen to start developing particular oil and gas safety coach training as well. I've got someone from Tasmania flying over for this course in May, and they want to look at that from a shipping perspective. They're very much in the maritime industry, and so we'll be working hand in hand with them and going, look, this is our foundational course. Bring to the table your expertise, from the maritime industry, and let's create a safety training course which can be a bolt-on to this, which is. It's not just focused on new view safety and coaching, it's focused on specific marine industry. So we can contextualize all the examples, and we can, put people in the environment as well of those marine environments. So we're looking to do a lot of things with this. But as you mentioned, we've got to start somewhere. But yes, the idea is Dubai, Tasmania, Eastern States. We even have interest from South Africa and Scotland as well. So there is a lot of opportunity for this to be contextualized all over the world.
Very good, very good. Very good. In Australia, I'd suggest probably your next stop after Perth would probably be lovely Brisbane, because
Vegas.
Quite a big, not only safety community, but quite a big hop following over there, I believe. So might be useful to do that. So the one thing I think most businesses and safety professionals might go is, well, that's a wonderful idea, but why would I be getting David and Ian in to tell us about how we should do things differently? Why would we?
Great question, Tom. And the main thing is the years and years and years of operational experience. It's one thing to be understanding of these concepts, but to have the many years of actually operationalizing them within organizations. So I mentioned earlier, I started in coaching. I'm actually a master coach. Spent many years coaching individuals, companies all around the world, and come from heavy industry myself. I spent years working on drilling rigs, both in mining and oil and gas, and started my first consultancy 2011, and have been out consulting in heavy industry ever since. Last year, I actually started another company called How2HOP, where we really show people how do you take these principles and concepts of human and organizational performance. It's one thing to know that error is normal and blame fixes nothing, and the systems drive behavior, and response matters, and learning is essential. But what do I do with that? And so we actually teach and really help companies operationalize those concepts that HOP is known for. So it's the years and years of experience in terms of actually taking the concepts and adding value to an organization from a safety, from a quality, from a performance perspective that we bring to the table. Yeah,
and I've known David for some time, and I know of his professional acumen, and I can say I'd be very happy for him to be actually running a session to help educate my people as well, so if they were available to come along. So what was the dates again that we were talking about? We were talking about May
the 19th, which is
kicking off in May 19 and 20, and then May 22nd, 23rd. So we're running it twice to begin with. And as David mentioned earlier, it's a 2-day course that we're starting with.
Fantastic. All right, gentlemen, we may leave it there today, but thank you so much for coming on and letting us know about this new venture. I look forward to seeing it succeed. I know it will succeed, and I wish you all the very best.
Appreciate it, Tom. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for listening to Voices from the Edge. If you like what we are doing, like the episode in the podcast, subscribe so you won't miss any future episodes, and leave a positive review.